Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and esteemed members of the government of Brazil. I apologize for not being able to make this address in person, and I hope that my appeal is not diminished in any way due to my inability to be with you today in person. My name is Luis Elizondo, and I'm a career intelligence officer with the United States government. From 2008 to 2017, I had the privilege to participate in a small but significant program within the Pentagon, focusing on the collection of UFO data. In 2010, I was asked to lead the overall effort, which later became a small footnote to my country's history involving the dedicated study of this phenomenon. It was during this time that it became very evident to all of us involved in the project that our military was encountering a technology that far exceeded our own capabilities. Furthermore, it was abundantly clear that this technology had the ability to gain access to our controlled airspace and once more perform in ways that was unimaginable and yet verifiable by some of our most sophisticated weapon platforms and data collection techniques. On a regular and routine basis, our military equities were coming face to face with these technologies, perplexing our military eyewitnesses and stymieing our best efforts to understand the unique performance characteristics. Furthermore, of critical concern was the apparent interest this phenomenon has with our nuclear technologies, including power generation, weapon systems, and propulsion. Recently, elected officials in my country have decided the evidence was too overwhelming to ignore and called upon our defense and intelligence communities to participate in a public hearing, of which I suspect many more will follow. The result of the hearing was simple and yet astonishing. 1, UFOs are real. 2, UFOs most likely represent a real technology. And 3, UFOs are considered a national interest for the United States. Further reinforcing this new priority is the requirement for our defense and intelligence communities to work with partner nations and allies. Although I applaud this new renewed interest in a historically forbidden area of study, it is with great concern that I worry about any single country having monopoly on the study of what is now considered beyond next generation technology, and by default, controlling the narrative on this topic. This is precisely the mindset that has relegated this legitimate study of this topic to fringe and pseudoscience for the last 70 years. Ladies and gentlemen, today I speak to you not as a former intelligence officer, not as a representative of the U.S. government, and not as a UFO expert. Today, I appeal to you as an ordinary citizen of the world, as your brother, your father, your son, pleading you take this topic seriously and to do what is necessary, not just for your constituents, but for every person on the planet. Today, you have a rare opportunity that comes only once in a lifetime. Today, I ask you to seriously consider the establishment of a Brazilian government-sponsored UFO program that includes scientists and academics. The time has come to remove conspiracy theory and replace it with quantum theory. Remove stigma and replace it with academia. Remove secrecy and replace it with transparency. I ask that Brazil help lead the world in a new millennium of enlightenment and knowledge. I dream that one day Brazil may sit amongst friends, perhaps at the United Nations or perhaps even in San Marino, and help usher in a new era of understanding. Before I close, I'd like to share a little personal thought, if I may, with you. You are in a very rare opportunity right now as leaders for Brazil. Times and opportunities like this do not happen very often. In fact, in a one person's lifetime, they may not happen at all. But as a species, these paradigm moments for us occur, and in fact are a natural part of our species evolution. One may infer the very first time that man came out of the cave and looked into the heavens and realized that the shadows that were being portrayed on the side of the cave wall were no longer real. That wasn't mankind's reality. And crawling out of the cave for the first time and witnessing the heavens, maybe that was the first fundamental paradigm change for our species. Perhaps the second time was when mankind struck two stones together and created a spark. And that spark then led to fire. and that fire illuminated the darkness for which man was scared at one time. And now man could now roam freely in the night, illuminating the darkness. And perhaps the last time mankind came to some sort of paradigm moment like this for our species was when two people were standing on a sandy beach, and one person looks to the other and says, "I'm going to sail over that horizon." And of course, the other person said, "No, you don't want to do that because you'll fall off the earth. And in fact, there are sea monsters out there. There's giant kraken, and they will destroy your ship." And of course, now we look back and we kind of laugh at that. But in reality, it turns out there are sea monsters. It's just that those sea monsters now have names. They're called great white sharks. They're called blue whales. They're called great squid of the Pacific. And they're not really sea monsters, are they? They're part of our natural world. They're part of nature. They're part of our current paradigm. And so perhaps with this topic, this is yet just another paradigm moment. Perhaps we as a species are standing yet on another sandy beach, and we're looking at the horizon one more time, and we're about to sail over that horizon together. I would submit to you that change is a very necessary and very healthy part of our species evolution. And I believe we may be at the precipice yet again of another paradigm moment for our species. In closing, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to speak with you today, and thank you truly and humbly for your attention to this most important matter. Again, please forgive me for not being here in person, but I am here with you in spirit, and I sincerely hope that you can do what's necessary to help propel this topic forward. Please make no mistake, you are on the right side of history with this conversation. Thank you, and God bless.
Number of sightings, they're far greater than have been publicly disclosed before. I think there's been some leaking that there may be as many as 100. I'm not going to dispute that number. But what's more important, Trey, is that the number of sightings and recordings that have been picked up by what we call multiple sensors, that is visual, radar, ISR, satellite. And when you have multiple sensors under conditions where we see UAPs, it explains away a lot of the things like visual disturbances or things like that. When it comes to national security, ego can't be involved. If there's something out there that's bigger or faster and stronger, we've really got to answer that question. And so having a discussion about it is going to be a good thing.
Those Russian and Chinese technology?
Absolutely not. And when the UAP task force report came out, it was actually beautifully written, and it's the sense that what it said and what it didn't say.
Oh yeah,
but but it was very apparent to me when I read it. Reading between the lines, and I actually think I know one of the persons who actually wrote that finished product, and it was written by a pretty sharp guy. And basically, what they were saying is, either the possibilities, but the other, that other thing, where it could be something totally different. I studied, worked on figuring out what the Chinese and the Russians and everybody else had, in their arsenal of high tech. Now, nothing is even close to this. Nothing. And when you witness these things and you see these things, and I know Lou, is always very careful about what he says and what he can say. But I was privy to some of this stuff. And I can tell you there's absolutely no way on God's green earth that these things are terrestrial or belong to a government. They are other world or other dimension or other something, but they are definitely not ours, and they are not Chinese, and they are not Russian.